my answer. I don't know what I just did. I got 20 minutes. Try, but I can't fight it. Alrighty, this is Sports for Real with Coach Hall. Back at it again on this early morning broadcast. And I got a little fodder to talk about today. Kind of missed you guys yesterday. Had some things I had to take care of business-wise, which took me away from my normal setup. But I don't want to get into that, but most of the time you're going to catch me here at 6:30 in the morning. Last night, the Eagles and the Cowboys finally kicked off the NFL season. You know, everybody else has been playing for a couple weeks now. College, they're on their second full week, but it's actually the third week because you had games on what they call week 0. High schools, this is week 3 down here in Florida, and I think Georgia's a week ahead of us. So the only thing left to kick off was the NFL. Greatly anticipated matchup between the Cowboys and the Eagles, primarily because people wanted to see what the Eagles would do with a so-called depleted Cowboys team. Well, they looked at the Cowboys as being depleted because, as you know, they don't have Michael Parsons anymore. And the question that I have is, where are you going to get the pressure on the quarterback? And more on that later. But besides the Cowboys' issues with Parsons, a lot of people, they hadn't said a whole lot about the losses that Philadelphia had. They lost several guys off their defense. Some guys retired. Some got free agent deals elsewhere. Some of them don't seem to be as hungry anymore. So, whatever, man. That's funny. But the Eagles, people wanted to see just how bad they were going to whoop Dallas. Well, Dallas was walking into a situation where nobody really knows what they were going to do, knowing that Philadelphia lost a lot of their players. So they felt like they had a chance. At least the owner felt like he had a chance. He felt like getting rid of Michael Parsons was a plus. But we all know the truth on that. Well, unfortunately, the game got off to a terrible start. You see in the thumbnail there, Jalen Carter, the big defensive lineman for the Eagles, apparently spit in the face of Dak Prescott. Not good. They threw him out before the game even started, so he can't play. And you already lost a lot of players from last year, so you're not going to look like you did last year anyway. And then now Carter is gone. Now Philadelphia seems to be in a bad situation. So did that help Dallas? I think it did, because the advantages that Philadelphia had with the psychology of the Cowboys being down a little bit just got greatly improved. So now Dallas felt like they could move the ball. Well, I feel like Dallas was going to be able to move the ball anyway because they have improved their offense. You got Pickens from Pittsburgh. He's on one side, and you got CeeDee Lamb on the other. And surprise, surprise, this running back, Williams, he seems to be a pretty decent back. So offensively, the Cowboys are there. And hell, even Dak Prescott was throwing some dimes last night. But unfortunately for the Cowboys, their star player, CeeDee Lamb, he had 4 critical drops. 4 critical drops. These guys make all this money to make plays when they need it the most. And on back-to-back series, when the Cowboys needed a play, you got great throws from your quarterback, and your top receiver, he doesn't haul it in. That is unacceptable. And it also gives fodder for guys like Jerry Jones to try to hold back on the paycheck, because he feels like he don't get the full participation from his players when they need it the most. Why should I pay this guy top dollar when he might make a mistake or he might get hurt? These are some of the kind of things that Jones has said. And then CeeDee Lamb, he backs that up. As you recall, CeeDee Lamb was the last Cowboy to go through negotiations with Jerry Jones. He got his money. Dak got his money. He got hurt. All these things in the back of Jones' mind when he's dealing with Michael Parsons. But I think really what he wanted to do was get rid of Parsons so it can free up some cap money. Had he signed Parsons to that big deal, then the Cowboys would have had all their big money tied up in like 3 or 4 players and wouldn't have had money for much else. But now he's got a little bit extra money to deal with. So that's all Jerry Jones really cares about. Let me see what's going on. Kevin Anthony, how you doing, man? I seen that vulgar response you had. I'm going to overlook that, though. Say more fun. How you doing, man? I see the Browns ready to get it on, right? What you going to do with them Bengals, man? And Catherine Hippolyte McManus says, hello, how you doing, Catherine? I just recalling what I saw last night. I wasn't really blown away that first half. There was really no defense. Both teams pretty much ran up and down the field. But what I did see, though, that bothers me, you know, these officials during the offseason, they have these camps, and they have an emphasis on what they're going to deal with during the season. Well, it looks like pass interference is going to be one major issue that they're going to emphasize. The first 2 drives the Cowboys had, they got put deep into Eagles territory with pass interference calls. So my question is that something that they're going to be focusing on the whole season? Well, if it is, a lot of teams are in trouble, because if you guys have been paying close attention to football the last couple of years, especially some of your so-called famed or named, well-named cornerbacks and defenders, they do an awful lot of grabbing and holding, and they get the tag of, this is a great player. I don't know how the hell you can be great when all you're doing is pulling and grabbing on players all the time, and it really doesn't get called. You can't call it because you'll slow the game down, because most plays it's going to be some pass interference, just like holding on the offensive line of scrimmage. You can call penalty on just about every single play that takes place. But if you're going to call these deep penalties on these cornerbacks, then it's gonna make for a higher scoring game, because you're going to put a lot of teams in scoring position, and all you got to do is throw it up and maybe I get a call. And I saw that last night in the game with the Eagles. And I'm hoping that they're not going to focus too much on that. Let the guys play a little bit, but if it's egregious and the guys grabbing and holding you and dragging you down the field 5-6 yards, hell, throw the flag. But you can't do that every time, because, you know, it'll be obvious that most teams, that's what they're going to do. They're just going to chunk it up, looking for the pass interference call. JC, how you doing, man? I think Connor would get fined by the NFL, or maybe a 1-game suspension for spitting. I know he's going to get fined, especially in that spotlight with the only game in town. Everybody saw that, man. And I don't know what this cat thinking about, but I think he should be suspended, probably 2 games. I mean, just to set a precedent for somebody else that wants to do that. But I think the response from that should be a lot more warranted, you know, from the Cowboys fans. You're supposed to protect your quarterback. I know a little skirmish broke out, but next time they see him, they got to let him know again that we can't deal with that. So expect the Cowboys and the Eagles to get it on when they go to Dallas, and not just on the football field. They're going to get some kind of retribution back, because you can't do that, man. You got to stick up for your teammates, especially in light of everybody's think you're going backwards anyway. So they got to do something about that. And I think the Eagles, they may find him also, and they might have their own little internal discipline to take care of. But you got to be careful, though, because you are paying these guys a whole lot of money, and you're not going to pay them a whole lot of money to suspend them and put them on the bench. So they're going to slap his hand real good, but he ain't going to miss a whole lot of time. You can bet that. Now, the Michael Parsons effect. We know that both teams didn't have very good defense in the first half. But after that lightning delay, you notice that the Cowboys, to get pressure on the quarterback, they start blitzing. That's what you're going to see from Dallas, because as predicted by myself, once I saw that they didn't have a suitable sub for Parsons coming off that edge, they got to find some way to get some pressure. So if you start blitzing corners and safeties, shoot some linebackers and gaps, that's what the Cowboys are going to have to do. And once teams figure out where they're primarily coming from, then Dallas is going to have a problem. So it's up to the defensive coordinator, I believe his name Eberflus, That's the guy that used to be with the Bears, the head coach. He's going to have to find a way to disguise where these blitzes are coming from, because if he doesn't, the team's going to pick them apart. But Jerry probably hadn't said anything about it. He probably hadn't been asked about the Parsons effect because the game was so close. But it's clear as day that they don't have enough pressure coming off that edge, man. And this is only week 1. You got 16 more games. And they're going to have to find a way to get pressure on that quarterback. Otherwise, it could be a long year for Dallas, man. All right, I don't even like Dallas like that. A team of clowns. Yeah, this is kind of clownish, but I think that it's still worth watching because they're an NFL team. Hell, even the clock is right twice. A broke clock is right twice a day. So if you're a Cowboy fan, we won't hold it against you. But maybe you get some things right. JC said, I was surprised Dallas played as well as did against Philly. You can expect them to play well, at least for a half. I thought that Philadelphia was going to run them off in the second half, but that lightning kind of changes the mindsets of players. You know, you get all jacked up and you come out of the locker room and you're ready to play, then all of a sudden you got to stop and sit down for an hour. Now you got to regenerate yourself. That's a hard thing for players to do, going up and down that emotional roller coaster. So these kind of things play into the advantage of the underdog team. And Dallas, they used everything they got. By Carter being out of the game, that made it easier for them to run the football. You know, that guy Williams jamming up on the goal line, he wouldn't have had as easy a go if Carter was in there. So it all plays to the advantage of the underdog when things start to get off track. So Philadelphia still is the better team. They're going to have to figure out what they're going to do with that cornerback position. Dory Jackson, he looked too good last night. They're going to have to hide him, because if they don't find ways to disguise and find the good things that he can do, teams are going to go after him. And just like that dude Eli Apple they used to go after, they're going to start going after Jackson if he don't tighten up. But that's partly on the defensive coordinator, put him in the right positions. And he also said, I thought Philly was going to win by 10 points or more. I did too. I don't know how many people lost money on that, but if you bet the Cowboys and with that 8 points, then you should have made some good money, depending on how much money you put on it, you know. CeeDee Lamb has some crucial drops. Yeah, man, that dude, I spoke on that. He's getting all that money. He got that monster contract extension, but yet when the game's on the line, you can't come through. I mean, anybody can look good. But you know, that brings up a good point there. You start talking about stats. Everybody's all in the stats. You know, this guy had 200 yards or he had 150 yards receiving. That's fine when the game is not on the line. I mean, it's competitive, but when you got to make that catch, that's the most important stat. Did you make the catch when you have to make it? And Lamb, he didn't come through last night. Will it be okay? Yeah, he'll be fine. But he's got to do better than that, man. Everybody's watching on national TV. You don't want to go out like that. No, Pac-Man, you can't spit on people. I don't know if he gave the game away, but I just think that he just didn't perform when he had to perform. But what you did see was Dak Prescott throwing some pretty good passes. It might be one of the better games he ever played. I mean, from the throwing aspect, I mean, he putting right on the money there. And Lamb's got to come through in that situation. But the thing is, you see that Pickens takes a lot of pressure off him. And if you can't double both those guys, then you got the tight end running free. Dallas is a problem offensively. I thought coming into the season they could score about 28, 29 points a game, and I didn't see anything different last night. But if Lamb catches those passes, I think Dallas wins that game last night. So I guess you can say, Pac-Man, that he gave the game away. He was a very big part in the final score there. But Hurts, he played pretty well running the ball. I mean, the Eagles didn't really light anything up throwing the football. But what surprised me is A.J. Brown. He only had like one catch. Now, he's supposed to be one of their top receivers. You got to give the man more attempts than that. At least start the game out, throw him a bubble screen or hitch or something just to get him into the game. But, you know, when you try to force things into players is when you have turnovers that happen. And I think when they were trying to get it to him, they would get safety help, and the quarterback will have to pull it down and go somewhere else, or it got flushed out of the pocket. And sometimes that happens when receivers don't have those great games. Now, you just look at what happened in college. That guy Smith for Ohio State, in the playoff games, he didn't do nothing against Texas, I guess because of the scheme. This time he dropped a couple of passes, and he was getting frustrated, and that game from the playoffs was still in his head. So receivers can have a bad game. But speaking of Texas, I think they got San Jose State this week. We talked about this guy Arch Manning, about how great he's supposed to be, but I told you I hadn't seen anything from him. But as soon as they play some team that they're supposed to beat, and he has this monster game, then they're going to see how great this guy is. Well, I think this is going to be the week where he goes off, because they're supposed to beat this team by 20, 30 points, whatever it is. And because of that, he's going to have a great game. But like I say, when you meet somebody on your level and they look at you right in your eye, you can't run no faster than he can run. It all comes down to who wants it the most. And when the lights shine bright in Manning's eyes, he folded. But this week against San Jose State, he should be okay. Everybody's going to give him his credit again. But he won't get that from me, because he ain't showed me nothing last year in mop-up duty. And he hadn't showed me anything when he had a whole summer to get ready for Ohio State, and he didn't do nothing about it. So don't get too excited when he has a great game this weekend. Now, getting short on time here, but tonight you got the Brazil game with the Chiefs and the Chargers. Everybody's counting the Chiefs out simply because they feel like it's time for another team to step up and take their place. Well, there are a lot of contenders out there for that throne, but that doesn't mean that these guys still can't play. Yes, the Eagles whipped them. They whipped them up front. But I tell you this, I've been watching football a very long time, well over 40 years, and I know one immutable truth. I never met a quarterback who can throw on his back. And if you put pressure up the middle, and you got pressure coming off that edge, that quarterback better make a decision real quick, otherwise he's going to be on his back. And when he has to make those rush decisions and nobody's quite open, you're going to get those interceptions, you're going to get skip passes, you're going to get all kind of stuff to make that quarterback look bad. And that's what the Eagles did to Mahomes in the Super Bowl. But the beauty of it is, those coaches in the NFL, they never sleep. While you're at the playing with your Easter baskets or get ready for the 4th of July, those guys are in the film room and they're trying to figure out what they can do to get better for the next season. They're not only looking at their team, they're looking at all the other teams in the league. So they're going to make these adjustments. A veteran guy like Reed, they're going to fix that. So while everybody's counting the Chiefs out, don't get in a big rush to do that, because the Chiefs aren't going anywhere. The question is, what will Baltimore, who's shored up their defense, their whole starting secondary, now number 1 draft choice. You got your running game with Henry coming through there, and you got your MVP candidate quarterback. So it's time for the Ravens to do something. I affectionately call the Ravens the regular season Ravens, because they're going to win some games. Some teams are going to come out there with the wrong game plan, and they're just going to get embarrassed, because the Ravens are going to be on that day. If you don't play them just right, you're going to get beat. But when it comes to the playoffs, just like I told you about Arch Manning, and that quarterback got to stand and look at that other guy in his eye, and he's looking right at him, and they're the same size, and now who wants it the most? Now we get to see who can really play. And in the playoffs, Baltimore hasn't stood up. And one other thing about the Ravens from last year, Henry, they say they were saving him for the playoffs. He didn't have a whole lot of carries in each game during the season. But when he got to the playoffs, he still didn't get a whole lot of carries. What are they saving him for? That is the time to start giving the man the football the most in the playoffs. He could have had more carries against the Bills, and that might have made a difference. That takes a lot of pressure off your quarterback, and when you can do play action, guys are going to be running wide open. But if you can't run the ball effectively, and your quarterback got to drop straight back and throw the football, he better be accurate, or it's going to be a problem. So the clock is ticking for the Ravens. I think if they don't win it this year, they're going to have to break that team up. I mean, they keep trying to improve it. What else can you do? Well, administrators, the coaches, they can't do a whole lot. It's up to the quarterback to stand in there and throw the damn ball, like I've been telling you guys all along. Jackson is the difference at the Ravens. If he can stand in there and throw the ball when he has to, they're a very dangerous team. He's slowly getting better at it, but I hadn't seen it when he has to have it. Will this be the year? Now they're going to play the Bills. They're almost in the same boat as the Ravens. They can't get over that Chiefs hump. They can beat the Chiefs, but things just have to bounce their way. Baltimore, they can beat the Chiefs, but things have to bounce their way. But while you're talking about all these damn teams, I'm going to go back to say something that Chuck Knowles said one time. If you remember that Sea of Hands game with the Dolphins and the Raiders, the AFC divisional round back in '74, Raiders celebrating like they had just won the damn Super Bowl because they beat the Dolphins. The Dolphins had put them out the previous 2 years. Forgot all about the Steelers. So my point is, he told his team, look, you think they just won the Super Bowl. The next week, Pittsburgh went out and whooped them, and they went to the Super Bowl. So while we talking about Baltimore and Buffalo, and you talking about Kansas City and all of that, don't forget about them Steelers, man, because they got a quarterback that can do play action, and they can run the football. And if they're able to run the football and they can keep Rodgers clean, Pittsburgh is going to score about 30 points a game, and it's going to be hard to beat that team because they got defense. Defense at the end of the day is what wins you the championships. But your quarterback is going to have to stand in there and throw it. And you can run all you want in the regular season, but all that crap is not going to be there in the playoffs. So Jackson's going to have to throw the ball. Same thing with Buffalo, and Kansas City has already figured all that out, man. So JC says never count the Chiefs out. Mahomes says he's on a mission this season. Well, he better be. And Selmore Floyd said, let's see if the real ones can win a real game. I want to see it too, man. It'd be interesting to see how things go, but I like to see what the Chiefs look like. And I wish, like the video games, you can take the injury mode out so we can really see who the better teams are, because a lot of times the injuries make all the difference in the season. Steelers-Jets game would be a good game this weekend. Yeah, it should be. Like I said, I'm interested to see just what Rodgers does, because we hadn't seen him in the preseason. And as you know, they swapped quarterbacks with the New York franchises. Russell Wilson went to the Giants. Justin Fields went to the Jets. And then, of course, we got Rodgers from the Jets. So it's going to be a reunion of sorts this weekend. Maybe Russell Wilson can come over after their game and check him out, too. Who knows? Who cares? But the question is, should Jalen Carter be suspended? And for whatever reason, I can't see my stats today. I think that he should be suspended. He not only should be suspended, he should be fined by the league, and I think the team should also fine him for conduct detrimental to his team, because I think he could have cost his team the game last night. If it wasn't for CeeDee Lamb dropping those passes, I think he would have got knocked off. Nicholas Boyd said, if you see all of the footage, Dak spitted him first. They called him in his act, but I'm still a fan all day. Well, you got class, Mr. Boyd. A lot of these cats don't have class, but you know. It doesn't surprise me if Dak did it, you know, but in life, it's always the second guy who gets caught. So maybe Carter can use that in his defense. But at any rate, any kind of spitting going on, you spit on me and we get separated, I'm going to see you somewhere. You're going to have to show me something, man, because that is the utmost disrespect. I know football is, and in a way, though, I'm kind of glad to see it, because, you know, I worry about these young fellas. They don't want to play any football. So let you know some nastiness still exists. And as much as they try to legislate contact out of the game, football is always going to be a dirty, nasty game. And you see them spitting, which is unusual, but you won't see it under the pile. They do all kind of stuff under the pile, grabbing and spitting and pulling and yanking and everything else. And that's why I tell you that tush push, eventually somebody's going to grab that quarterback around his throat and choke him. He's going to go back to the sideline with marks on his neck. The head coach is going to see it. No more quarterbacks running the tush push. You're going to see what Baltimore is doing when they put Andrews in there and start running it. That's what you're going to see moving forward. So that's just me. But anyway, Thomas Lewis agrees. Yes, 5 games are fine. I love to talk with you guys all day. Every time I get warmed up, then this happens. I got some college football I like to talk about, and then, of course, the rest of the previews for the NFL. A lot of good games this week, and I get into that. I can't get into it now. So unless there's some breaking news, I'll come back on tomorrow about 10. We'll do a preview of college, and then we'll also get into a preview of the NFL, and then we'll do it again on Sunday. Also, I just re-inked with FanGo Media. And if you're not familiar with FanGo Media, we go out to the stadium and we talk to the fans as they're coming out of the stadium, and we get their opinions on what they saw. I'm in Jacksonville, so if you want to check it out, all teams have somebody in that city who was talking to the fans as they came out. So if you're interested in that, go to FanGo Media. Go back a couple months to the NFL season, and you got all 32 teams representing it, and you'll see my ugly face on there and talking to fans. And I'm going to do that again this year, starting with Sunday when the Panthers come to town. So I'm looking forward to doing that again. But anyway, I appreciate you guys chiming in with me. Please like and subscribe. And like I said, if there's no breaking news, I catch you guys in the morning. But right now, the bell just rang. I got to go to work, man. Got to teach these kids, man. So until next time, check me out. This is Sports for Real. And, okay, real quick, New Year animates. What do you think about the Kawhi Clipper scandal? He just got caught. I mean, a lot of owners do all kind of stuff under the table to subvent whatever the system is in place. So he's just the tip of the iceberg. And if they investigate this deeply, just like the NCAA, if they wanted to investigate every school, they can find some major infractions somewhere. Same thing with these owners. They do stuff under the table. And speaking of the NFL, it wouldn't surprise me if Jerry Jones got something going on like that. So that's just my thought on that. So, but yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit later tomorrow, and we get a little bit more into it. But right now, I'm just short on time. So you guys have a great day wherever you are in the world, and I catch you guys on the flip side. It's been Sports for Real. I'm out. Looking forward to